Hide and seek is a game we play. We play it in every culture. Children love playing hide and seek. There's something joyful about discovering a secret spot and then being found, knowing that you're thought about, cared for. I've found in my work as a psychotherapist that we play hide and seek emotionally throughout life. We don't always realize that it's a game we're playing, but we hide certain feelings, especially when it comes to desire. We're socialized to put on a show. If you think about a toddler, it's cute to say, "I want milk," but it's not so cute if you're 25 and you order a steak by saying, "I want steak." We go around the issue and we say things like, "Could I please have?" or "I would like." Not just in language, but even in our own minds, shame and pride can keep us from showing too much of what we want. We're afraid that we'll seem ghastly if we admit to ourselves that we want to do something bad, like hurt another human being or want power. And we worry that we won't get what we want, that if we admit that we really want to create something, it won't go our way, we will lose it, and we'll be embarrassed. So we end up patrolling ourselves and silencing ourselves and holding back from even facing what it is we want out of life. My first therapy client was a woman I'll call Tessa. She was in her 60s and she was terminally ill. I was in my 20s and had all sorts of rescuer fantasies that were also my roundabout way of trying to meet my own needs. But I didn't realize that at the time. I worked with Tessa bedside, and she was very impatient in a wonderful way. She really wanted to face herself, and she never had. She'd never had therapy before either. She wanted to be closer, and she felt like she had pretended to be cold her entire life. Why had she faked this? Why had she held back? She hadn't spent time snuggling her children. They were all grown up now, but as she lay dying, her desire to snuggle them was unbearably strong. It was all she could talk about, all she could feel. I found it really difficult and really moving sitting with her, hearing about this desire. I wanted to fix it and help her get something she wanted. It wasn't too late. Her kids were now in their 40s and she could tell them and they could be close. But it didn't work out that way. I think it's really important to admit to ourselves that actually we cannot fulfill every desire. We can accept that and be comfortable with that. Total fulfillment isn't possible, and I think that there's a lot of popularity these days about how to live a full life. It's not as if you arrive there one day. It's always incomplete, and there's always vulnerability that comes with it. In my own life, I've had many secrets of my own, but I've also been a weird and confusing combination of hiding stuff and revealing other things. So I'm open and honest in some ways, but I also select what to be honest about, even with myself. In my early 20s, I had a relationship with a monstrous man. He was sexually violent and terrible and also incredibly charming and contradictory. And it was an overwhelming situation, to say the least. After a year or so, I extricated myself from this relationship, and I made all the right choices, technically. I moved on. I trained to become a psychotherapist, fell in love with someone appropriate, and had 2 children. But this man died a few years ago, shortly after I'd given birth to my second child. I was absolutely devastated. Even though I hadn't been in touch with this man for years and years, and even though I thought I had resolved the whole thing, it came back in a haunting way. Not just the sorrow and the difficulties, but actually something sweeter and more alive than I'd ever considered. I still had feelings about this man that were not entirely negative, and a part of me had never faced that. I also had aggressive feelings I'd never really dealt with, so I wanted revenge. but revenge is not a very popular or acceptable motive, apparently. We're not supposed to go there, even in our own minds. We're supposed to be more serene and nicer. I wanted power. I wanted control. I also wanted to be wanted. We are socialized in our own way, regardless of gender, although I do think it's more of a female thing sexually, but we are socialized to be wanted. And even if we rebel, even if we think that we do things for ourselves, there is still a lot to lose when it comes to revealing parts of ourselves. So we think that if we show our desire, it will make us undesirable. Finally, now that this man was dead, I feel like I had no choice but to confront myself. I finally began to sit with the discomfort and the contradictions of wanting different things, because I also really didn't want the violence that he had inflicted on me. So a part of me was completely at odds with this other part where I thought I should know better. How could I possibly want anything to do with this memory within myself? Why was I going there? I began to thread the story together and just tolerate it for myself so that I could understand. I think we all have mixed feelings and we all want different things at different moments. But we pretend that we are going to be able to somehow resolve the issue of desire, that we can pick a category and then just stay there. If we get married and we love our husband, then we can make that choice the end. We know it doesn't work that way. But we stop asking ourselves questions about what we want when it comes to the bigger picture issues. We get very fixated over thinking through what we want in certain ways, like nail varnish or going on a holiday, the details, but we don't always think about the bigger picture. It takes courage to face yourself without flinching. Ask yourself in this moment if there's something that you have been hiding, if you've faked something in the past week, and not just an orgasm, but maybe that too. If you have pretended to want something when actually you really don't want it, but you feel bad if you say that. Or if you've pretended not to care about something because you don't want to look like a loser or seem foolish or it seems out of reach. Confront yourself for the ways you hold back. It takes a lot of courage, but it also takes curiosity. And I think curiosity is a lot more helpful than judgment. But we tend to judge ourselves harshly. We think we will somehow be able to master emotions and just stop wanting bad things. In this moment, see if you can locate a dark desire, something completely inappropriate, if you can want something that you really shouldn't. Maybe for some of you, that's much more exciting and thrilling in general, but for others, you might be pressured by all that you should want. Shoulds can get in the way of a lot. If you're curious about your desires, you probably have mixed feelings about most issues in life. And I think that if we can lean into this and accept that contradictions don't always have to be resolved, you can want to be with your husband and you can also want to sleep with someone else, although it doesn't mean you have to go and do that. I'm not suggesting you do. You can want to kill someone, and please definitely do not do that. It is so liberating when you can admit to yourself that you wish you could just kill someone. Seriously. When you realize that you have some savage side to you and you can breathe more easily because actually you're not at its mercy. You can make your choices. See in this next moment if it's possible to call yourself out for the ways you've been hiding. I think we can get really good at hiding and we can expect other people to find us. And the way it's difficult for a child if he or she plays hide and seek and no one comes to find him or her, I think we spend our adult lives kind of hoping that someone will come to find us because we want to be known, we want to connect. So wherever you are in the audience, the people I sat with at dinner last night, are you somewhere here? I'm not just speaking into the void, but I was wanting to hide, and I came out of hiding and had dinner, and it was joyous. It was joyous to feel that sense of home and connection and revelation and honesty. But the most honest thing we can do for ourselves is admit that we also lie all the time. So see if you can call yourself out for the ways you lie and get comfortable with admitting, even if it's just to yourself, something you want that you haven't shown. Thank you.